Welcome everyone to Thriving Thursday. This is our weekly session which we offer to our online community, Facebook group currently, and we still do live broadcasts on Instagram where we share a thriving tip. We believe very much that, as long as you stay consistent with understanding the things you need to make for progress in your space, you will definitely enjoy it. Funke, it's good to see you. God bless Nigeria. Yes, last week was amazing. If you were with us when we had Diolu Akinyemi talk with us on the morning mindset, or you've watched the replay, just give me a wave because I was in session, and in as much as many of the things that he shared with us are things that I know, the truth is I had to be saying if you watch some of the replays that I put out there, I was just saying because I was like, oh, this is confirmation of some of the things that I know, some of the things I've been sharing with my clients, with my team, with my people, So if you were with us last week or you've not watched it, now let me just tell you, you need to go watch the replay. That was a ground shaking session we had, and I'm happy that we did that, because it is always critical for us to ask ourselves, what are we doing right? What can we do better? And what are we keeping in our space that is actually holding us back from coming into the fullness of what we can be? So that session was amazing. Larry Olokunde, thank you for joining. I hope I even pronounced the surname correctly, but thank you for joining. It's good to have you here. Okay, I am FolaFayo. For many people who probably don't know me, Nancy George, I see you. Thank you for joining and thank you for the wave. I am FolaFayo, the perception shaper. I help people who are in life transitions or at crossroads to be able to identify and then maximize opportunities and the resources that are available for them to thrive in that season. I do this as a life coach. I do this as a podcaster. And yes, I am also a headshot photographer. Okay, so today we're going to be looking into possibility is contagious. We mentioned that last week, and I had to drop it there because it was the right moment to drop an information like that. But we've not discussed it with the online community, and I felt that it would be good for us to talk about it. So someone raised it, and I was like, okay, let's talk more about it on the next session. So I'm happy to be able to bring it to us today. So possibility is contagious. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And let me start here. Think back to the last time you had something new you needed to do. You need a good headshot. Oh, we'll talk about it, Eric. We should talk about it. Yes, I can offer you that. But there's a condition to it. So think back to the last time you had to do something new, complex, or big. How was it like for you? If there's an emoji that quickly comes to your fingers that you can use to describe something recently you did new, something recently you faced that was complex, or that was a big task, a project that, well, you could have created it for yourself, or someone created it for you and they brought you on board to say you're going to be part of the team doing this. How was that like for you? How was that like? I would like to know. If you have an emoji, drop it for me. How was it like? If you have an emoji, drop it for me. How was that like for you, coming into something new, complex or big? A project, an awareness of something you needed to change, modify, or start fresh. So new. How was that like for you? If you've been in that space recently, let me know. Now, like I always try to say when I ask questions, I'm like, okay, you know what? I want to see as many answers as possible. But I also understand that we are kind of like limited with time, because I'm running for time now. I have a timekeeper who is always with me on my session. So, so I'm running for time. But while you're all thinking about the emoji that kind of describes that feeling for you, I want to tell you, and I want to confess, I have been in that situation a lot this year. If you've known me and in the past, and you probably have seen me doing a lot of things this year, you probably say, when did all these things happen? FolaFayo, there's a lot for FolaFayo. In fact, a lot of people didn't know me as FolaFayo until about 2 years ago when I started using it with my headshot brand. And people know me as Bukola, people know me as Barbie, And, then there's FolaFayo, then there's Polished Lens, then there's Thrive at Home, and then there's Crossroads, and then there's Adjust the Sales, and then there's, Thriving Thursdays, and then there's Cedar, and then there's, a lot of people have seen some of these things, and I can tell you that for me, those things, starting them, it was fearful. And I'm letting you know today, it was fearful. So I see 45 together, and Tarek Digital telling us that they were at a point where they're like, okay, so how are we going to go around this thing? It was like that for me, yes, and fearful at the same time. So I was having this feeling, okay, Nancy is saying challenging and stressful. Okay, yes, it was challenging, stressful, because sometimes if there are categories of people, right, and there are some that try to like break things down and try to say, oh my God, this looks so difficult for me on the onset. For me, it was challenging. And the question I want to ask for those of us who went ahead and still got around doing it, how were you able to eventually plug in or show up? Because for me, having Thriving Thursdays, when this time last year, I wasn't doing Thriving Thursdays. So I needed to show up continually, right? So it was a new one for me. So if you're showing up somewhere and it's been a new one for you, how has it been? How did you eventually get around doing it? How did you eventually get around showing up? Or how did you eventually get around stepping into that thing or plugging in eventually? Because yes, you come with a sense of, can I do this? I'm not sure I can do this. This is fearful, right? How did you get around doing it? So today, while you think about it, because you think that some of us have been in that situation, but we've not actually asked ourselves, what exactly did I do to get it right? And that's why we talked about thorns and roses. You need to look for that one. That's a replay you need to watch. That's one of the sessions you need to watch, the replay of, where we talked about reflections, taking time to reflect, okay? So, okay, Nancy says she just had the faith that she could do it. Amazing. That's an option. That's a great option. I guess most of those go into things just having faith that I just believe I can do it. Okay, if I get any other person dropping for me how they did theirs, then I will definitely make a mention. But today, we're going to be looking at one way around that tough spot. So there are many ways. So Nancy has shared, yes, on Tariq Digital, yes, the online communities on Facebook. So if you go to the link in my bio, Thriving Community, just click on that. It will take you to that, okay? So you could have faith, and there are other things that I'm sure many of us have tried in the past, but today I'm going to be sharing one way that has like two parts to it that can help us to go through those tough spots of immediately facing a tough and new terrain, a terrain that looks challenging before we discover that, okay, it's something I can actually sort myself around with. And this is it, by keeping in mind that possibility is contagious. That is the way that we're talking about tonight. So when you get to that point where you are having something new to do, something complex to do, you need to realize that possibility is contagious. You want to tell yourself possibility. So whenever you are in that situation again, next time after today, just tell yourself possibility is contagious. Possibility is contagious. And this is what this means. It means that if a similar one to what I'm about to go through has come up before, if I've done it before, then it can be repeated. That is what contagious possibility is about. If something similar has been done before, then it can be repeated. So if you know what, I mean, this is a season of a pandemic that everybody knows how contagious it is. It is so contagious that we cannot go out and say, oh, don't just touch the person. We are saying, wash your hands, use a face mask. I mean, that is the height of something being contagious. I'm telling you that possibility has that power of being contagious, that ability to spread. But I'm sure that before now, many of us have not realized that we could actually leverage and maximize it in our favor. We've not been able to look at that possibility with this fact. So here's what I'm saying again. If something similar has happened before, it can be repeated. If something has been made possible before, it can be repeated. It's more like you're transferring the success feeling, the feeling you had getting through something, or the can-do spirit or thought that you were able to form, or belief that you were able to form because you made it through something. You're trying to bring it to the first step of another. So it's like saying that there are different steps on this end. So you see that you've come to, maybe there are 3 steps and you've come to the 3rd step. Then for some reason, you are now at the bottom of another step. Now, the motivation or the encouragement you have on that 3rd step, you bring it to this place. That is what it means by transferring that belief, that encouragement, that motivation from the fact that you've done it before, you've done something similar, and then you're repeating it, that you're bringing it to a place where it can be repeated. That is how it is. But today, like I said, I want us to see how we can be intentional about it. So yes, you have the idea. If something has been possible before, okay, then I can repeat it. But how do we become intentional about it? So there are two ways. Okay, yes, thank you, Nancy, for that comment. Is it with oneself for similar situations, or someone else? I'm coming to that. Thank you for that question. And Tarek, I see your answer to the question saying that you studied with people who have done it in the past. Amazing. We're going to talk about that as well. Thank you. I always say that I have amazing, intelligent minds joining Thriving Thursday. So even me, I come charged knowing that they're going to be giving me things that I probably didn't consider before. So thank you all for your contribution so far. So there are two ways that we can be intentional about it. And one way to look at it is to say, what have you done right in the past, and let it encourage you. And this is where I answer your question, Nancy. So you ask yourself, where have you done it right in the past? And you use it to encourage yourself. Now, in my post on Instagram, when I was trying to, give us insight into today's session, I said that this was from an interview that one of my online mentors basically had with Trent Shelton. And Trent Shelton said it this way. He says, if you show yourself, okay, I'm reading from somewhere, so just bear with me. If you show yourself that something is possible in your life, something that you once thought you could not do, you thought it was impossible, it will give you the confidence throughout your whole entire life. That sounds like, really? I'm sure a lot of people are like, no, FolaFayo can't be that simple. You know the amazing thing? Most times many of us want change with things that we are going through in life, but we want the change that will be complex to prove to ourselves that it has to bring change. We are so into something that we want a transformation from that. When people bring simple solutions to the things that we need to do, we're like, no, I don't think that's the way. Then we go and meet another teacher, another trainer, another coach, another counselor, seeking something complex. It's that simple. So I'm repeating what he said. He said, if you show yourself that something is possible in your life that you once believed was impossible, it will give you confidence throughout your entire life. Can you imagine that? Throughout your entire life. So some of us don't remember the amazing things we've done before. I was talking to one of my kids recently, and we were talking about, I think, the result from a test in school or a football match they had in school. And I was like, ask yourself this whenever you're going through stuff and you are trying to decide how you feel or how long you feel about it. When we go through things that are exciting and things of success, how long do you celebrate those things? You're like, okay, maybe for some hours, maybe that day you pop champagne for people who take that, or you celebrate with friends, or you post it on social media. Okay, now when you're going through a challenging time, how long do you dwell on it? And people would tell you, well, the truth is, it could go for weeks. Some people would tell you months. Some people actually deal with some things that go wrong in their life for years. And that's where the problem is, because we forget to actually appreciate for long enough the things that we've done right. Because those things, the understanding of those things continually help us to archive in a place that we can refer to whenever we come to a new tough spot. So the way to be intentional with the internal option of leveraging this concept is to say, what have I done right? What in my life was hard at some point? And I know a lot of people will be saying, FolaFayo, you can't compare. You can't compare, oh, I was reading for an exam that I eventually read for. It's not like it. It is just the same thing. What it just means is that it was a new terrain and you got over it. It was a new terrain and you studied for it. It was a new terrain and you faced it head on and you got your success. As long as you've had successes in the past, you can recreate it. That is what it's about. You can recreate it. And it may not necessarily be the same. It may look different, but it's just to let you know that you have what it takes. At that time, You may be saying, oh, but it was simple. But really, if you look back at that time you thought that it was the biggest problem you could ever face in the world. No, that's why I started this session by asking, think back to the last issue you had. I tell you that when I first of all thought about having adjust the sales, I was like, wait, what's going to happen? Because with adjust the sales, I had like 20 contributors from different parts of the world. And I was thinking, how am I going to do this? If someone tells me today that I'm going to do something a little bit more complex that will require a lot of people, I kind of like feel like I may be a bit fearful about it. But I tell myself, if I can do adjust the sales that I knew nothing about and I had no one to share with me what I needed to do, I can do something else. But like I said, we are not taking time to archive, to collate the things we've done right in our lives. We've not been fair to ourselves to say, you do this right. You've done it right before. You can replicate it. Every challenge you face, there was something that Diolu said last session. He said, you are qualified for where you are today. That means that every challenge that comes to you on this level, you are qualified to take it. They will not give you, life will not give you something that is beyond you. So what you need to do is to tell yourself that if years back or levels back, you faced a challenge that was so much for that level and you came through it, then the one you're facing at this level that you're qualified for, you can as well make it. So like I said, we need to start looking at how to archive these things. And I know that some people will be like, you know what, FolaFayo, I've never even really made I've never really made a practice of, noting down the things I've done right. Maybe that's the project some of us need to do before we end the year. Get a book. We ladies, we like very pretty notebooks and all of that. Every success. I had a conversation with someone some months ago and she was, preparing for her milestone birthday or something. And she was feeling a little bit unhappy. She felt that she could have done more. And the discussion we had, I told her, why don't you just go write down the things that you can just look back on and think of. And when she was done writing those things, it just changed a lot of things for her. So maybe many of us need to start from there to ask ourselves, in this year, at this company, in this job, when I was running this business, when I was in this relationship, when I was in this location, what were the things that I did right? Because those things at that time were tough for you, but there are signs that you have what it takes when anything happens. So you transfer that possibility, the contagious, I don't want to use the wrong grammar, but you transfer the contagious power of that possibility to the next level. And another way you can do this is, so you can refer to something you've done right? And you remind yourself that if you could do this before, and that's why sometimes when we have the right friends, the right circle of friends, even if you don't remember, they will remind you. Your friends will tell you, I remember when you started, especially maybe our parents, does it? I remember when you started. You couldn't do this well, you couldn't do that well and all of that. I know that my daughter, when she started school, we had a bit of challenge because of the nursery she was in then, coming to a proper nursery, her catching up in class. And every time we tell her that, you started off as a child that ended up getting an award as the best developed. You can imagine, best developed, a child that caught up with what was taught. But in the last years of school, she's been in the upper percentile in her grade. And she just probably remembers that my mom told me it took me a bit to catch up. And she believes that whatever may seem to be putting me in a place where I feel like I'm behind, I will eventually come round. That is a confidence boost, okay? The other way where we can also help ourselves is, you may say, FolaFayo, I don't have anything to refer to. We need to have a session together, because if you search deep, you will find. But if you don't have any way to be able to, identify that, I can tell you that we can have a session together where you would be able to unravel that, right? But another way to also do the internal bit is to say, what is this thing like that I need to do? And break it down into chunks. That task, break it down into chunks. Now, when you break it down into chunks, you start with the smallest ones. Here's what will happen. Every time you do the small ones well, it transfers a confidence boost to the next task you need to do on that thing. But what happens with many of us is that we see something we need to get done and it's just overwhelming. Like maybe you decide that, oh, I want to do a PhD. Well, I'm still deciding if I want to do a PhD, for example, or you want to do a master's and you're like, by the time I start the program, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. Everybody says it's this. Well, take it easy. Because the first step is even deciding what school you want to go to, deciding how you want to pay. By the time you break it down and you start to do one thing at a time, at least mail the school, fill the form, just knowing that you've crossed those steps makes you realize that it is actually possible. So you need to ask yourself, how can I break down this big task into small steps that will boost me to move to the next level, till I'm able to achieve what I need to achieve. Now, back to Nancy's question, which was what I was going to touch on tonight. The other bit is to look outside of you. And for this one, what you are keeping in mind is the idea that there's nothing new under the heavens. There is nothing new under the heavens, which means that something similar has been done by someone else. So when you're at work and they give you a huge, unbelievable target, the idea is to say, I can't do this, I don't know, all these things and all of that. So what you need to do is to tell yourself, who else has faced this challenge before and has gotten it right? Because there's nothing new under the heavens. There's nothing that will come to you today that something similar hasn't already occurred on earth. It's just for you to find out where. Now, so for this one, you ask yourself, how can I make the success of that person motivate me? Now, but I want to drop something on this one. Most times, here is where we kind of miss it a bit. So when we're looking for someone who would challenge us on the outside, we may be drawn more to people who are miles ahead of us. Now, while those models are good for us to target and to motivate us, when you now begin to face the real challenge of taking those steps, the tendency for you to excuse their success to some things that they are privileged with. So you will say things like, well, actually, he probably had a mentor, or well, he had more money, or maybe he's a citizen of more than one country, or maybe you start giving excuses. So to be able to help you, sometimes when you're looking for an external support to this model of what possibility thing can I make, infects me, you may want to just tell yourself, who are the people that are just a few steps ahead of me, but have done it consistently? That's the way to go about it. To ask yourself, who are the people that have just done a few steps? So if many of us think back to when you first started off at work, when you left college, the university, and started working, all those ropes around the office, right? I'm sure you did not go to a VP or a GM in your office to say, where do I put these letters that we need to send to other branches? You probably didn't do that. You asked the person that was just like a few steps ahead of you, and they told you, oh, this is how you should do it. When you mail this person, you copy this person. The person that really did a hand holding for you was someone that was just a few steps ahead of you. So while it is good for us to target people that are doing extremely well. So for example, if you want to up level your finance, right? You don't need to, if you are still earning hundreds of thousands right now, you don't need to get someone who is getting billions to tell you what you need to do. If the person is just 10 digits ahead of you, the person is qualified. The person is qualified to put you through. But that is what we always miss. We're like, so in this Ferrari trending season, where a lot of people are now trying to position for the new year, the question will be, have you bought a Ferrari for your children? Why would you be teaching me about finance? As long as the person has been consistent with financial opportunities and outcomes in their life and practices more than you have been, then that person is qualified to actually put you through. So when you're looking for an external possibility scenario, look for someone bigger if you can find. But if all you find in your immediate circle is someone a few steps ahead of you who have done it consistently, the person is qualified to actually put you through. The person is actually qualified to transfer the confidence boost to you so that you don't limit yourself in getting what it takes to be able to face that challenge. So they're just, but something that I really want to emphasize here though, and that's the fact that we need to realize that the internal one is the one we need to work on more. The internal one that I referred to at the beginning is the one we need to work on more, because studies show that the motivations that we have from our inside bring more, better, and lasting results in our lives than the ones we get from the outside. So while many people will be like, oh, I need, and all of that, which is great, because sometimes these people in our spaces help us to see things we don't know, you need to stir up on your inside, identify on your inside what it's going to take for you to self-motivate, because that is what will help you to remember you've done it before, you can do it again. So ultimately, make sure you connect to the two options, an internal option, an external option. Make sure you're connecting to both, but try to make sure at the same time that you have a strong place with the internal one. So obviously, today will not allow me the time to go and customize this, asking people questions on how you want to do this for yourself. But if you have questions, right? If you want to go deeper into this, or you're like, you know what, FolaFayo, I really need to customize this for myself. I really am at a point where I'm taking on new projects all the time, and you want a situation where you now make it a practice, please don't forget, we have a complimentary clarity call, because I always say that some people will be like, FolaFayo, what did we talk about in the clarity call? These are the kind of things we talk about in the clarity call. So we're going to be looking at any of these things that we share on Thriving Thursday. You're like, FolaFayo, I really want to master this because I really need it at this point in my life. The clarity call is complimentary, right? And we're going to just take time to focus on that one thing or two things that you want to move on with. And here's really where I want to also end today's session, because my eyes are going to the time on my on my screen, and I don't want us to stay too long, is that last week we had a session on money mindset. And the truth is, we've been cooking and prepping for over 3 months now. I tell you, over 3 months now, a program that we want to end the year with. Why? Because we're trying to see what we can do to make you come to a place where you archive more success stories to be able to build your possibility vault. But in this case, we are going to be focusing on wealth creation and finance. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I did this deal once, but it was a long time ago. Today, I just work and I earn money. But you could actually come into more testimonies that happen a bit more frequently. Now, in addition to that, if you have a desire for financial freedom, now there's a difference between just having financial intelligence and all of that. If you have a desire for financial freedom, if you have certain dreams that having more than what you have right now is key to getting those things done. So I know some of us have dreams. Let me tell you one of my dreams. One of my dreams is to be able to give, even if it is just for a week or two, missionaries on the field. Yes, I'm that passionate about God's kingdom. An expatriate lifestyle. That's what I would love to do. Where missionaries on the field enjoy an expatriate lifestyle, even if it is just for a week or two. I would love to fund that, because I know what sacrifices many of them are giving to be out there driving causes that honor God and bless lives, okay? But I don't know what your dream is. Your dream could be to buy a huge house for your parents, to send your kids to Ivy League schools. Okay, I have that on my list as well. Or something more. But whatever dream you have, that you believe strongly that having more will be critical. For me, I know I need to have much more than I have right now to be able to achieve that. Or you are looking at your 2021 and you're saying, 2021 can't be like this 2020 was for me. It's like 2020, I had some things in my mind, but all of a sudden the pandemic, everybody's blaming everything on the pandemic. Okay, I blame some things on the pandemic too, actually. But the truth is, you're like, I really want 2021 to be different, okay? Then this program is for you. This program is for you, because what we're going to be doing is making you realize that those dreams, those things you're desiring, are things that are possible. Now, we have already opened up the sign-up page for this program. The sign-up page is already open. The early bird, I think the date closes on the 7th. So you're going to be getting more than 25% discount if you sign up between now and then. And what we're going to be doing in this program, like I said, is one key thing is to help us to begin to build more success stories in our lives that would come into our vault of possibilities. Because when you have that vault packed, you would even be able to refer to it to help other people. Then you will be a role model for someone else. You'll be an external factor on this scope or in this concept for someone else, right? So we will learn strategies that will help us to be able to position, to attract, create, sustain, and multiply wealth. That's the focus of this program. And the seats are limited. If you've been on my mastermind groups before, you will realize that we always do just a small group of people. We don't do more than 10, 15 people per time, because we really go deeper into the concept and we really want to get personal with people and to customize. So the faculty that you will be experiencing the faculty that will be taking us through this are experienced coaches, trainers, and mentors. And these are people that I would tell you are steps ahead. Because I said earlier that sometimes we are looking for people that have bought Ferraris. If people that have bought Ferraris are bringing out a program today, some of us will not be able to afford those programs because we probably need to fly to where they are to be able to attend the program. Right. However, I can tell you that the people who will be faculty members for this program are experienced. They have handled wealth. I can tell you that they have handled wealth and they have mastered some of these things that we're going to be talking about on the program. So please don't miss this out. If you have a friend that you know has been saying, yeah, 2021 has to be different financially for me, please let the person be a part of this. So as I end tonight, I want to remind you, possibility is contagious. Whatever level you come to with the task that come to you in life, you just need to realize that you have everything it takes to be able to come through that situation. You just need to ask yourself, what have I done before that can boost my confidence? And if I can't easily find who in my close circle, who in my maybe outer circle can I refer to and tap into the confidence or the possibility spirit that they had so that I can be able to face my challenge at the same time. I don't want to end without saying hello to everyone who joined us tonight. La Belle, thank you for joining. Tolulokpe Popola, Tech Digital. It's called the Amygdala hijack. Okay, I think I should look that up. I'm hearing that for the first time. Titilope Favor, thank you for joining. Data Analyst Coach, thank you also for joining. And everyone on Facebook who is going to be watching the replay, please give me a hashtag replay so I can know you just joined. But like I said, if you want to personalize what we've talked about today or customize it for yourself, we have free, if I have to use the word free, okay, free calls that you can have with me, and then we can go deeper into this thing for you. But please stop getting to a place where you freeze when you go through something and you're finding it hard to step out there. You've done it before, you can do it again. There's nothing new under the heavens. Someone has done it before and you can also do it again. Thank you everyone for joining. I would need to round up at this time. I look forward to next week. I think it's a faculty member coming up. So I don't want to tell you, see you next week, but definitely see you on the next Thriving Thursday, where we're going to be sharing another tip on how to stay thriving in our season and in our space. Thank you for joining me tonight. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye-bye.